Alright, this is another OAGSP demo, and this one's going to be the OAGrid. Here on my screen I'm going to show a little grid, and grid's basically a way to have like a cookie cutter way of reproducing the same thing over and over for different objects in a hub. The other thing that we want with it is we want it to be responsive, so as far as sizing and adjusting all that kind of stuff, for all that to work, we also want to be able to page through it, and then within each cell, which represents an object in the hub, we want to be able to customize what goes in there without having to write all the code, for every single one. So this is also using templates within here. If you also notice, again, I have it kind of dummied up just to show for the example. Whichever one I'm clicking on, it's using Ajax, and it will go ahead and update, which one's the active object, and I just have it in the red box there. As I'm clicking that, so I'm on Jim Harris here. These other components, like this table, we can see it's on Jim Harris. If I go back to Tracy Doe, it should automatically update this guy, or this one, the Tracy Doe, because they're going off the same hub. If they were going off different hubs, they'd have different active objects, and they wouldn't be set. So the code for this, for the JSP, is basically just a div with the ID being grid. If we look at the demo, JSP.java code, what we have here is we create a new OAJSP grid component, give it that ID, which is the grid, give it the hub, and then we tell it how many columns we want to be the default. Based on that, that's based on a large size, is it will use responsive layout to figure out the right sizing and for the media and stuff like that. The other thing that it has built in, again it goes back to the templates, is we can set the template, and on the template, in this case, some of the stuff you can put in classes or anything that you can do within HTML. And then anytime you want to have something filled in from your objects in your hub, you can basically just use some of the template tags. In this case, we want to show the full name. The other thing that we have that we can do with templates is we also want to be able to embed components. So like in this case, a button. So if we click on the button, we want to say click me for whichever object it was on. So within the grid component itself, you can create other components, actually add those to the grid, and then that component itself has its name, ID, and is referenced in the template by that name. So I'm basically go in here and reference that button. That button then is built into it. The button's also set up so we can know information about what objects it's on. There's a rendering, so it can be rendered per object. So in other words, what the grid does is it accepts the button as a component into itself, and then for each cell, which again is each object in the hub, is it will go ahead and call its methods to go ahead and render it, and then here's how it handles on submit. What's nice about the grid managing the button is also manages whenever a button gets clicked. So whenever one of these buttons gets clicked, the grid component will manage setting whichever one was the active object, and then the on submit for whatever the component, in this case the button, will get sent. So in this case, we're just going to pop up an alert, and here it tells us it was number 6. You can see here it's the active object now. And again, we can look at all these other active objects and see the same thing. There's Howard and all over the place. Again, if we click on this, going down, we'll see that we have a different active object there, Eva Doe. And while we're back up at this component, you can see how these headings, the code for this is now, you can give a property path for whatever you want the heading to be within your list of data. Again, this is employees, and it just says, okay, I sorted them, and then I told them to group them or make the heading property the last name. And what it will do is, as it's printing them out, is if the last name changes, it automatically will use that as a grouping heading or whatever. So that's it for this demo. Thanks.